So good day everyone. So once again, it's me Jillrose Patiño, BS Criminology second year of Negros Oriental State University. And today we're gonna talk about the module 3 of our subject CA 200. And the title for this discussion for today is the institutional agencies of the Philippines. So here is a brief history of the Bureau of Corrections. The Bureau of Prisons was established as an agency within the Department of Commerce and Police by the Reorganization Act of 1905. And then in 1907, the Reorganization Act reopened the San Ramon prison, which had been devastated during the Spanish-American War in 1898. So what was the first name of the Bureau of Corrections? The Administrative Code of 1987 and the Proclamation Number 495 issued on November 22, 1989 changed the agency named the current Bureau of Corrections from the Bureau of Prisons. So what law established the Bureau of Corrections? The Bureau of Corrections Act of 2013 will be known as this Act. Section 2, Statement of Policy. It is the state's policy to promote the general welfare and protect the fundamental rights of all inmates in our national jail. Executive Order 292 of July 25, 1987. The Administrative Code of 1987 renamed the Bureau of Prisons to Bureau of Corrections to emphasize the shift in its primary goal from punitive to rehabilitative process and per presidential form of government, and is now under the DOJ. So there are 7 operating units across the country, including the New Bilibid Prison, the Correctional Institution for Women, or the CIW, which is in Mandaluyong City, and then the Sabalayan Prison and Penal Farm, which is in Occidental Mindoro, the San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm in Zamboanga City, the Davao Prison and Penal Farm in Panabo, Davao Province, and then the Leyte Regional Prison in Abuyog, Leyte, and last, the Iwahig Prison and Penal Farm in Puerto Princesa City, Palawan. So Malacanang confirms the appointment of Mr. Gerald Quiteleg Bantag as Director General of the Bureau of Corrections, or the Bureau of the Department of Justice. So one of the remarkable mediums of this time that is still viewed this time is the Code of Kalantiaw. So the Code of Raha Kalantiaw was a fictitious legal code in the epic history of Maragtas. Though it is fictitious, it is also being observed in the study of criminology. Wanna know why? Because allegedly authored in 1433 by Dato Kalantiaw, a chief of Philippine island of Negros. So the code is now believed by many historians to have been a hoax, and that it had been written in 1913 by Jose E. Marco in his historical fiction Las Antiguas Leyendas de Isla de Negros, the ancient legends of the island of Negros. He ascribed its sources to a priest named Jose Maria Pavon. So in 1917, the historian Jose Soncuya wrote the Code of Kalantiaw in his book Historia Prehispana de Filipinas, or meaning the pre-Hispanic history of the Philippines, in which he changed the origin of the code from Negros to Panay. So basically what we can see nowadays in the Code of Kalantiaw and its origins and histories, it is very diverse, and it's being revised from author to author. So in here, I started from the real origin, from what is the true origin of the Code of Kalantiaw, the fictitious code. So, in which he changed the origin of the code from Negros to Panay, claiming that it was tied to the Binirayan Festival. So, what is the significance of the Code of Kalantiaw? So, here it is. So, Dato Kalantiaw was previously regarded as a significant figure in Philippine history for creating country's first legal code. So what is the Code of Maragtas all about? So the Maragtas Code is a testament of the Visayans' high civilization. Moral was high and business was thriving. The Code of Maragtas were promulgated in 1212 according to Gregorio Zaides' Chronicle. So how many articles are there in the Code of Kalantiao? So many researchers in the Philippines and the United States accepted Marcos' pre-colonial source materials at face value into the 20th century. So basically, I'm really not sure, but the Code of Kalantiao, I guess, is somehow like in the situation of the position of the many revisions of the Bible, rather. Okay, I'm not being offensive. I'm not trying to be offensive to religious, uh, uh, to religious people, but somehow the Code of Kalantiao, uh, that the Code of Kalantiao that we see nowadays was only based on Marcos pre-colonial source materials. So we are really not sure about the integrity or the authenticity of the information that we see right now. So the Code of Kalantiao was the most important of these. So with 18 directives for the fitting punishment of various moral and social infractions. So what are the laws cited in the Code of Kalantiao? Its first code is that you shall not kill, neither shall you steal, neither you do harm to be aged, lest you incur the danger of death. So, excuse me. Meaning, of course, you shall not kill, or the grave offenses that can be committed nowadays is also being in binoculars, being bawal in the Code of Kalantiao. It is being written in the Code of Kalantiao that you shall not kill, steal, or harm to the aged, lest incur danger to death. So the punishments under the Code of Kalantiao include death by being drowned in the river or in boiling water, put to death by being stoned and crushed, swimming for 3 hours or for failure to take care of his wife, and 1 hour of lashing. So the laws of the Kalantiao Code. So the first article that is included in the Kalantiao Code is, again, the ye shall not kill, neither shall ye steal, nor shall ye hurt the aged, lest ye incur the danger of death. All those who this order shall infringe shall be tied to a stone and drowned in a river or in boiling water. Article 2, ye shall not punctually meet your debt with your headman. He who fulfills not for the first time shall be lashed a hundredfold, rather, if the obligation is great. His hand shall be dipped threefold in boiling water. On conviction, he shall be flogged to death. Article 3, obey ye. No one shall have wives that are too young, nor shall they be more than what he can take care of. So nor spend much luxury. He who fulfills not, obeys not, shall be condemned to swim 3 hours, and for the second time shall be scourged with pines to death. So okay, it is way back then. It is okay to have wives, no. Having wives more than one or many wives is not a problem, as it is being observed in the Muslim traditions, if I'm correct. But way back then, it is okay to have many wives as long as you have the capacity to take care of them. So when you fail to take care of your wives, you will face the consequences and the punishments that is written here in the Kalantiao Code. So Article 4 of the Kalantiao Code, observe and obey ye, let not peace of the graves be disturbed. Due respect must be accorded them on passing by caves and trees where they are. He observes not shall die by bites of ants, or shall be flogged with spines till death. Obey ye. Exchange in food must be carried out faithfully. He who complies not shall be lashed for an hour. He who repeats the act shall for a day be exposed to the ants. Article 6. Ye shall revere respectable places, trees of known value, and other sites. He shall pay a month's work in gold or money. Whoever fails to do this, and if twice committed, he shall be declared a slave. Article 7. They shall die who kill trees of venerable aspect, who at night shoot with arrows the aged men and the women. He who enters the house of the headman without permission, he who kills a fish or shark or striped crocodile. And then, Article 8, they shall be slaves for a given time who steal away the women of the headman. He who possesses dogs that bite the headman, he who burns other man's sown field. Article 9, they shall be slaves for a given time, who sing in their night errants, kill manual birds, tear documents belonging to the headman, who are evil-minded liars who play with the dead. So you're not allowed to play by the dead, no? So next, Article 10. It shall be the obligation of every mother to show her daughter secretly the things that are less vicious, and prepare them for womanhood. Men shall not be cruel to their wives, nor should they punish them when they catch them in the act of adultery. He who disobeys shall be torn to pieces and thrown to caimans. So, it is really frustrating in the side of the men, but when you catch your wife way back then committing adultery, you are not allowed to punish them nor commit an offense, no, against your wife or women. So if you disobey this law, you shall be turned to pieces and thrown to the caimans. Article 11, they shall be burned who by force or cunning have mocked at and eluded punishment, or who have killed two young boys or shall try to steal the woman of the old men, or agurangs. So old men way back then were called agurangs. So if you killed two boys or tried to steal the woman of the old man, you will be burned or punished. Article 12. They shall be drowned, all slaves who assault their superiors or their lords and masters, all those who abuse their luxury, those who kill anitos by breaking them or throwing them away. So, as far as I observed, the laws of the Kalintiao Code is usually in favor of the higher authorities, the headmen, the lords, or the superiors. So, the Kalintiao Code, as far as I've seen, is mostly based on what the superiors that time wants to be in the law. So, Article 13, they shall be exposed to the ants for half a day, who kill a black cat during the new moon or steal things belonging to the headman. Again, the headman. Article 14, they shall be slaves for life, who having beautiful daughters shall deny them to the sons of the headman, or hide them in bad faith. No, again, the headmen. So, way back then, when you have beautiful daughters, you are not allowed to hide them, but rather offer them to the sons of the headman. Article 15. Concerning their beliefs and the superstitions, they shall be scourged, who eat bad meat of respected insects or herbs that are supposed to be good, who hurt or kill the young manual bird and the white monkey. Article 16. Their fingers shall be cut off, who break wooden or clay idols in their olangangs and places of oblation. He who breaks Tagalan's daggers for hog killing or breaks drinking vases. Article 17. They shall be killed, who profane places where sacred objects of their diwatas or headmen are buried. He who gives ways to the call of nature at such places shall be burned. Next is, those who do not cause these rules to be observed, if they are headmen, shall be stoned and crushed to death. And if they are old men, shall be placed in rivers to be eaten by sharks and crocodiles. So the next topic is about the New Bilibid Prison. The New Bilibid Prison, which is famous here in the Philippines. So the New Bilibid Prison, or the NBP in Muntinlupa, Metro Manila, is the main insular penitentiary designed to house the prison population of the Philippines. It is maintained by the Bureau of Corrections under the Department of Justice as of November 2021, the NBP housed 28,545 inmates, which exceeds its ideal capacity of 6,435. So this is widely the problem here in the Philippines. The incapacity of the correction facilities to handle more offenders, prisoners. The penitentiary had an initial land area of 551 hectares or 1,360 acres, but 104 hectares or 260 acres were transferred to a housing project of the Department of Justice. So the Old Believer Prison, also known as the Cárcel y Presidio Correccional in Spanish, correctional jail and military prison was located in the heart of Manila on a rectangular plot of ground that was once part of the Mahaylike estate. So, what happened to the Old Bilibid Prison? In 1940, the prisoners' equipment and facilities were transferred from Old Bilibid to the new prison, which was officially named the New Bilibid Prison. The remnants of the old facility became the Manila City Jail. The Old Bilibid Prison was divided into two sections: Carcel, which could accommodate 600 inmates; Presidio, which could hold 527 prisoners. Next is the San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm. The Penal Farm of San Ramon Prison is situated in the province of Zamboanga on the northern tip of large island Mindanao. It covers an area of 1,160 hectares and an average inmate population of 800 employed mainly in farm. Based on the Bureau of Corrections online data, the San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm was established on August August 21, 1870, through a royal decree promulgated in 1869 during the tenure of Governor General Ramon Blanco. It said that the facility was originally established for persons convicted of political crimes. During the Spanish-American War in 1898, the prisoners in San Ramon were hastily released and the buildings were destroyed. In 1907, the American administration re-established the prison farm. In 1912, General John Pershing, Chief Executive of the Department of Mindanao and Sulu, classified the institution as a prison and penal colony. Therein confined people sentenced by the court under his jurisdiction. Under Pershing's supervision, several buildings with a capacity for 600 prisoners were constructed. After several years, the colony became practically self-supporting with 75,000 coconut trees, which were planted at the beginning of Pershing's administration, contributing to the colony's self-sufficiency. So aside from coconuts, rice, corn, papaya, and other crops were also cultivated. So on November 1, 1905, Reorganization Act No. 1407 was approved, creating the Bureau of Prisons under the Department of Commerce and Police, integrating the Old Bilibid Prison, San Ramon Penal Colony, and the Wahig Penal Farm. The Philippine Coconut Authority took over management of the coconut farm from San Ramon. The Bureau of Prisons also was created by virtue of Reorganization Act 1407 of the Philippine Commission on October 26, 1905, to take charge of the safekeeping of all prisoners confined at insular and provisional prisons and of all penal settlements committed to the custody of the Bureau. So, as seen in the picture, she is Maria Clara Raffles Lorenzo Lobregat. Born April 26, 1921, died January 2, 2004. Maria Clara Raffles Lorenzo Lobregat was the first female mayor and also a representative to the Philippine Congress of Zamboanga City. What are his contributions and history? So, she was born on April 26, 1921 in the then municipality of Zamboanga. The second of five children of Don Pablo Lorenzo, was the mayor of Zamboanga City from 1939 until 1940, a representative to the Philippine Assembly and a delegate to the Philippine Constitutional Convention. Luisa Raffles of Cebu City. Lobregat grew in the cities of Zamboanga, Cebu, and Manila. She spoke Zamboangueño, Chavacano, Cebuano, English, Tagalog, and Spanish. Next The Iwahig Penal Colony. Iwahig Prison and Penal Farm in Puerto Princesa, Palawan, Philippines is one of the 7 operating units of the Bureau of Corrections under the Department of Justice. This facility was established during the American occupation. So the Spanish regime had earlier designated Puerto Princesa, Palawan as a place where offenders sentenced to banishments were exiled, often as death sentence due to endemic malaria, yet the facility was established only during the American occupation again. So Governor Luke Wright authorized the establishment of penal colony in the province of Palawan on November 16, 1904. This penal settlement, which is originally comprised an area of 22 acres, served as a depository for prisoners who could not be accommodated in the new Bilibid prison in Manila. So a prison facility was created by the American military in the rainforest of Puerto Princesa. So as seen in the picture is Governor Luke Wright, August 29 to 1846 to November 17, 1922. So Governor Luke Edward Wright was a United States political figure. He served as Governor General of the Philippines between 1904 and 1906 and was also the Secretary of War from 1908 to 1909. It's only 1 year. So the man in the picture is George Costello Wolfe. George Costello Wolfe is the first superintendent and a member of the U.S. Expeditionary Force who later became the first prisons director. John Roberts White, 1879 to 1968, was an English soldier who served with the Philippine Constabulary, was also superintendent of the Iwahig Penal Colony and served in the U.S. National Park Service. Japanese occupation. So, one of the person involved in the Japanese occupation was Pedro Paje. Paje was the Iwahig Prison Colony superintendent during the Japanese occupation. The colony had about 1,700 prisoners and 45 guards and employees during World War II. At the same time, Paje led a secret Palawan underground force which established communications with Palawan's guerrilla network, supplying them with food and medicine. Paje also kept tabs on the American POWs being held in Puerto Princesa. President Manuel Quezon had authorized Paje's use of prison colony inmates to carry out acts of sabotage and intelligence against the Japanese. As cover, Paje played the role of Japanese collaborator. Land distribution. In 1955, President Ramon Magsaysay promulgated Administrative Number 20, which allowed the distribution of colony lands for cultivation by deserving colonists. This was implemented by the Secretary of Justice Pedro T. Tuazon and the Agriculture and Natural Resources Secretary Juan G. Rodriguez, who granted qualified colonists 6 hectares of land. President Carlos P. Garcia created a committee on August 16, 1959 to study the state of national prisons. The prisoners in Iwahig were divided into 2 groups, settlers and colonists. The settlers are prisoners, those whose applications for land to cultivate have been approved. Tools, dwellings, and beasts of burden were furnished by the government. Expenditures incurred for their maintenance and their families were reimbursed from the products of their farms. Settlers receive many amounts of money they have loaned after the government deducts their obligations. During the time, Iwahig was subdivided into 4 zones or districts. Central Sub-Colony with an area of 14,700 hectares or 36,000 acres. Santa Lucia with 9,685 hectares or 23,930 acres. Montebol with 8,000 hectares to 20,000 acres and Inagawan with 13,000 hectares or 32,000 acres. In 1906, the Department of Commerce and Police, which later became the Department of Public Instruction, moved to turn the institution into the center of penal colonies supervised in accordance with trends at the time. Through the department's efforts, the Philippine Commission under the United States government passed an Act number 1723 in 1907, classifying the settlement as a penal institution. So part of this is the Administrative Order number 20 in 1995. The President signed it, and Secretary of Justice and the Secretary of Agriculture and Natural Resources put into the effect this directive authorized the allotment of colony lands to eligible colonies for agriculture. Next is the Correctional Institution for Women, which is located in Mandaluyong, Metro Manila. So this prison is operated by the Bureau of Corrections, and it is first opened on 18-hectare or 44-acre property on February 14, 1931. Previously, women were held at the Old Bilibid prison, but then, when the Philippines had the death penalty, female inmates condemned to death were held at the CIW. So Ron Glockman of Asia Week described the women's death row as appearing like a secondary school. So the facilities in the Correctional Institution for Women has three different camps, namely the maximum security compound, which consists of the old and new building, the medium security camp, and the minimum security camp. In a report dated January 22, 1959, submitted to a committee created by Administrative Order number 287 by the President of the Philippines, it was noted that before a separate building was constructed especially for women prisoners, all female convicts were confined at the Old Bilibid prison on Azcarada Street, Manila. The Correctional Institution for Women continued normal operations after the war. Weekly catechism classes have been implemented. A dental clinic was constructed. In the guards' quarters, local telephones were established. So it is being more developed further as time goes by. So the Bureau of Public Works repaired the main structure, and a workshop and infirmary were built for the inmates. During that period, the infirmary could accommodate approximately 16 patients. So that is more for a facility that is smaller than the CAW. So a new 4-story building was developed in the year 2000 by the Department of Public Works within the grounds of the Correctional Institutions for Women. It helped it to relieve the facility's growing congestion. It had to accommodate 1,000 inmates despite a capacity of only 200. Next, the Davao Penal Colony. Davao Prison and Penal Farm, formerly the Davao Penal Colony, was established on January 21, 1932 in Panabo City, Davao del Norte, Philippines. The Davao Penal Colony is the first penal settlement founded and organized under Filipino administration. On October 7, 1931, Governor Dwight Davis signed Proclamation 414, which reserved a site for penal colony in Davao Province in Mindanao, and on January 21, 1932, the Davao Penal Colony was formally established. Republic Act Number 3732. So during the World War II, the colony was turned into a concentration camp, with the Philippine-American Armed Forces interning over 1,000 Japanese people. The Japanese were treated according to the American commanding officer's orders. So the Japanese Imperial Forces stormed Davao on December 20, 1941, and the colony was one of the enterprises taken over by the invading army. The entire village was thrown into chaos, and several captives managed to flee. Normal operations have to be disrupted. A representative of the Director of Prisons delivered the colony and its belongings to Japanese authorities on November 8, 1942. So, colony in exile in Palawan returned to its previous location in Davao after Philippines were liberated. So, because the conflict had almost entirely destroyed the colony, most reconstructions and repair was required. So, that ends it. So, the next topic is the Sabalayan Penal Farm. The Sabalayan Penal Farm colony is penal farm is a relatively modern prison in Occidental Mindoro. It was established on September 26, 1945 by virtue of Presidential Proclamation number 72. The penal colony has a total land area of approximately 16,190 hectares. The first colonists and laborers arrived in Sabalayan on January 15, 1955, the year 1955. According to prison records, the colonists' dormitories, employees' quarters, guardhouse, schools, chapel, leisure hall, and post exchange have all been established since then. So later, 3 sub-colonies were established on a reservation that is still part of the Rainforest Preserve. Another is a coastal area The third one was used by the Philippine government as a relocating site for Mount Pinatubo explosion evacuees in 1991. Sablayan Prison is a decongestion facility where inmates from New Debilibid Prison are transferred. It adheres to the same colony guidelines as other penal farms. So the Sablayan Prison helps the Bilibid Prison to help it with its congestions. Well, since the New Bilibid Prison or the Old Bilibid Prison holds more than its capacity, it is natural for the government to establish a new prison which can lighten up the heavy load of the latter prison. Next is the Leyte Regional Prison. The Leyte Regional Prison, located in Abuyog, Southern Leyte, it was established a year after the declaration of martial law in 1972 by virtue of Presidential Decree Number 28. The Leyte Regional Prison has an inmate capacity of 500. It follows the same agricultural format as the main correctional program, in addition to some rehabilitation activities. So Plantilla and its institutional plan were almost perfect, but a shortage of funding prevented the prison from reaching its full potential, and its facilities were frequently inferior to those for other established penal farms. So this is a rampant problem here in the Philippines that when institutions try to establish a program and more projects, it is usually the funding that fails. No? The prison admits convicted offenders from Region 6 and from the National Penitentiary in Muntinlupa, or the Bilibid Prison. So on the other hand, provincial jails are under the supervision and control of the provincial government. It appears the provincial jails, which are directly under the supervision and control of the provincial government, have better facilities and are better managed as compared to that of the city and municipal jails. So, the provincial jail system. So, what is provincial and sub-provincial jails? Currently, local jails are under the jurisdiction of two different authorities. City, municipal, and district jails are under the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, or what we commonly know as the BJMP, while provincial and sub-provincial jails are under the concerned provincial government. So since we are at the province, we can widely observe these, that we have provincial and sub-provincial jails. So Republic Act number 6975, otherwise known as the Department of the Interior and Local Government Act of 1990, explicitly mandates that provincial jails are supervised and controlled by the provincial government within its jurisdiction. So every provincial government shall have control over the jails within its jurisdiction. So who is in charge of the provincial jail? Every province has a provincial jail administrator's office, which is led by a provincial administrator and is responsible for overseeing the execution of jail services in all district, city, and municipal jails under its authority. So the provincial jails shall be supervised and controlled by the provincial government within its jurisdiction, whose expenses shall be subsidized by the national government for not more than 3 years after the effectivity of this act. So, how many provincial jails are there in the Philippines? So far, the BJMP has been given control of 11 provincial and 4 sub-provincial jails, with more to come as more provincial governments acknowledge the BJMP's expertise in jail management. Next topic is the Public Attorney's Office, or the Public Attorney's Office is not, especially as Filipinos, we try to go the easy way. So what we really call this in normal days is the PAO. So PAO means Public Attorney's Office. So let's try to tackle on this. So Public Attorney's Office, or PAO, is an attached agency under the Department of Justice which provides indigent litigants free legal assistance. The PAO is an independent and autonomous office that is attached to to the Department of Justice for policy and program coordination's purposes under Section 38 of Chapter 7 of Book 4 of the Philippine Code. So, the Public Attorney's Office, as said, public, offers free service. So, the PAO shall be the principal law office of the government in extending free legal assistance to indigent persons in criminal civil labor, so administrative and other quasi-judicial cases. So, the mandate of the PAO is to provide indigent sector access to counsel at the time of need, so implement the constitutional guarantee of free access to courts, due process, and equal protection of the laws. So, the mission of the Public Attorney's Office also include to provide indigent litigants free access to courts, judicial and quasi-judicial agencies by rendering legal assistance in consonance with the constitutional mandate that free access to court shall not be denied by persons of poverty. So there is actually a law that confines to this, that no person shall be deprived of liberty. And it is also a privilege as a citizen of this country that when you are acquainted to these situations, you should receive free legal assistance. And it is also a constitutional mandate that there should be a free access to court, and you should not be denied by it. So the vision of the Public Attorney's Office is to be a God-centered and dynamic bureaucracy that is responsive to the ever-growing legal needs of the indigents, led by highly competent, world-class development-oriented, and nationalistic leaders. So what does it mean to be an indigent in the Philippines? So here it is. So the indigent is a person who has no visible means of income, or whose income is insufficient for the subsistence of his family. As identified by the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or the DSWD, based on specific criteria set for this purpose in accordance with the guiding principles set forth in the Article 1 of this Act. So, on the right portion of the slide, shown in the picture, is Dr. Acosta. She was appointed as the nationwide head of the PAO on February 23, 2001 by former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. So, this ends my report. Apparently, somehow there should be 2 to 3 more slides that will end my presentation, but apparently there's a problem with there's a technical problem, especially because after I produced this presentation, my computer broke off. So apparently this ends my report, my report and our discussion for today. So thank you so much, and I hope you have learned something from me. And once again, my name is John Luis Patiño, and thank you and have a good day.